All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started in that case. So we're really happy to be here. My name's Jenny Maclay, and we're here with Jessica Harry, who has her video off right now, but she's the Executive Director of Operations for the ICA. I'm the Social Media Coordinator, and we're so happy to welcome ICA Honorary member Antonio Saiote today to demonstrate a really cool technique he was telling us about. I don't know much about it, so I'm really excited to see what this technique is. He has a few students here as well to demonstrate this technique, and I will just go ahead and turn it over to Antonio and turn off my camera. But like I said earlier, whenever someone will demonstrate, I will turn on your camera. So see you on the other side.
Hello, Jenny. Hello, fellow ships from all colleagues from ICA. It's my pleasure to present for the first time worldwide this kind of extended technique. For many years, I played contemporary music, and I was always looking forward, thinking about if we could adapt multiphonics to traditional music or to modern music, but not in the way that would be a kind of disturb or messy way or shocking way, but to make it sound like double sounds or double stops in the string instruments, for instance. This sounds better with strings because these double sounds on the clarinet, they have natural intonation. So it's not so easy to do it with the piano because piano is tempered. About dynamics, the best dynamic is to play it sometimes from 3-piece, pianissimo, to mezzo piano, sometimes mezzo forte, it depends. I would like to make a notice, don't think it's a trick, something that we do in the embouchure, but is a kind of looking inside ourselves, feeling our body, in that case, the material, what happens in our face, in the palate, in the position of the tongue, in the throat, and so forth. So I want to say that also it can be a tool to teach and to get a very nice sound, considering all the harmonics. Also is important to think about how to put the notes and make it sound correctly. That's very important. We can adapt it to traditional music, as I said, or we can give composers new ideas and suggestions. I was telling some minutes ago to Jenny that I had a quintet written from me from Sergio Azevedo for string quartet and clarinet, and in the dress rehearsal I just make a kind of joke, and in the last chord, together with the strings, I put 2 notes together. He was so surprised and so amazed and so happy that he changed the parts of the strings in order that I could do it in the last chord. So I will give first of all some examples as we used multiphonics many times. There was some kinds of that stuff. And then I will start with some concrete pieces from our repertoire. Normally, it sounds better as a kind of fundamental from F natural, F sharp, G sharp. So it's, and sometimes E. So it's easier to play from those notes. The first example, I give it from Berio, Sequenza. As you remember, on page 6, there is these notes. There is a F sharp and then the A sharp. that we were supposed to do third minor interval together from the time that people use the low E or the full bum clarinet. Then Berio said it was also possible to sing the second note. The problem is, for those who played Berio sequenza, when we arrive to the page 6, we are so tired, and the throat and the mouth is so dry that even if we try to sing, nobody hears. So I created two double sounds that it's not a pretension. I met Berio personally, and I think he would accept this change. That was the first example. Now I would like to invite my student of master's degree, Antonio Lopes, to give the example of Messager, the last part before the cadenza, and that's an example of very traditional consonant music. Please, Antonio. Very nice. I ask my students because I would like people to believe. That's not a trick. That's not something that only I can do. It's something that can be taught and understood. The next example I will do with the first Weber concerto, the end of the second movement. And if the third horn plays very low, we can correct the intonation. If he plays high, a little bit with embouchure, a little bit with the direction of our air, like in a normal note. The next example from traditional music is the Canongia concerto that you can find all in YouTube. I did a record with that. It's from the beginning of 19th century. On the cadenza of the second movement, I don't do it in the record. It's another possibility. There is a concerto that everybody knows, Nielsen concerto. I don't know your opinion about the end, but for me, after so many and such difficult passages, so many problems, such a difficult concerto with the orchestra, it really finishes very sad, in a very sad way. So why not? We can have a chord. This chord, I give you an example, is used, I will tell it in Spanish, is sons rotos, like in Portuguese, or in French, son fendu. I don't know the English translation, but it was used before. So I just relaxed a little bit the embouchure, and I think about the notes of the last chord. That's the idea. Just today, I also picked artichoke concerto. For instance, in the cadenza, just before the end, can make some interesting jokes about it. Picking a piece from a little bit jazz, we have, for instance, The Shadow of Your Smile. I will do a new arrangement, and in the end, the guitar player who did the arrangement, he wrote, so I propose another example. I will do in this record Ternura from Cachimbinho, Brazilian popular composer. Maybe you know the piece. That's the theme. That's a wonderful piece. I love it. And in the end, the composer, arranger, proposed. So I will propose. And we have a beautiful octave. The almost last piece, I just, I beg your pardon, because I just thought about it today. One of the pieces I will record is Morricone Love Team. And just the end, it's written, let's see if I do it. Do it again. Then we have Wave. I think everybody knows the piece. So just in the end, and we have a beautiful end. On the traditional music, I just forgot Jean Français. And but before Jean Français, I will call Rodrigo Neves. He will tell what is he going to play from Bach, and I just suggest him to play it this morning. Hello, George.
I think you're muted. Could you unmute yourself? It looked like you were doing a beautiful job.
Sorry.
Diz o que é que vais tocar?
Partita number 2 in D minor, first move, Allemande. Again.
Thank you. And now Rodrigo Neves will play the homage to Kovac, homage to Bach, excuse me, from Bela Kovac. Rodrigo? Rodrigo, are you there? Since Rodrigo is not there, I will do the example by Jean Français. Just the end of the third movement. Very beautiful. Why not? That's a risk if we do it, but that's a possibility for Jean Français. And just to finish, I will do Fraioli concerto that I will play and record next 27th November. The end of the first section, bar 70, there is a cadenza. Or I will look at the example for Florian and have this to discuss with him. Well, I'm open now to questions.
This is just so interesting. I don't know where to begin. If anyone has any questions, please leave them in the chat or feel free to unmute yourself and show your video. I'll start. I have a few questions. Is this one chord that you're using, is it always the same notes or does it change depending on the piece?
We can't do over all the notes, but there is 3-4 possibilities, as I said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a name for this technique?
I can try to do almost all.
That's amazing. Bravo. That's really incredible. Do you have a name for this technique?
That's the problem. Double sounds, I can't get better. Because multiphonics, it means something different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you would classify this as a different technique than multiphonics?
Yeah, extended technique.
A different kind of extended technique.
Or even extended, I don't know. Sometimes I would like to do like Boulez, progressive.
Progressive technique, I like that.
Why not?
My next question is, how do you do this? Do you have a fingering chart or other resources? Or if someone that is listening wanted to do this on their own, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I own it to people. I will try to do it till December, a book with the fingerings and examples, a comprehensive list with the contribution of my students. Yes, I will do it.
Wow, that's so exciting. Let's see, I had a few other questions, and let me see if there are any from Facebook as well. So how do you find instances where this could be used in music? I realize there are only so many possibilities of the notes. Are you just going by the chords and harmony?
It depends on what I'm playing, if I think that could be needed, or in the case of compositions which composers they died already. I try not to shock, but I try to think that if they knew, maybe they will use it.
Do you think that any of these composers would have a problem with you not changing their music, but adding your own touch to this? I think it sounds wonderful, but do you think Francais or Weber or any of these others, what do you think they would say?
I don't know, but if I just think that when they wrote for strings, they put chords there, they put double stops. They just didn't put on the clarinet because they couldn't.
And maybe they didn't know that the clarinet could do these things.
But when is a piece, how do you say, chef-d'oeuvre, great piece like Brahms Quintet? I finished the concert. It was a big success in the festival some months ago. And then I said, now I will do again as encore, because I also find, after Mozart Concerto, after Brahms Quintet, Mozart Quintet, I wouldn't play, maybe Bach, but it's difficult after such pieces. So I said, I will play again the second movement, but with a change. I just forgot this example. I can give you the example.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Now, the end of the second movement, there is also, I find something missing. That's the end, yes? Or I'm just using the note which is there. And
I like
if I add
that.
something is one note of the same chord, I'm not distorting, or it's not a derivation, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really beautiful. I guess my next question is, how do you control the balance? I know, not to use the wrong word for multiphonics, that this can be very difficult to have the right balance of higher and lower. For these, how would you suggest that people practice this so one note isn't overpowering the other note?
Yeah, the basic techniques for those who did already these techniques, multiphonics and so on, the basic technique is easy. The principle that, for instance, I propose to the students, we imagine that the lowest note comes from the throat, and the other notes, the upper notes, they come from the palate or through the palate. So it means that we have to use the tongue as an internal direction of the air in order to get the upper notes. That's the principle. Then the rest, I can say, and it's a homage to my teachers. For instance, Guy Depru, he also said that the lower lip has to be like a pillow where we put the mouthpiece. People who really bite too much, they can't do this kind of things. Or people that, there are people, they think the sound starts on the mouthpiece. That's very difficult. But on my school, my way of blowing and so on, where the air is the beginning of everything, and the diaphragm. Even the Buddhists, they say that our soul is the diaphragm, as far as I know. So that's easy to get these kind of sounds, as well as a great pianissimo.
Mm-hmm. That seems
Yeah.
so, it seems easy to hear you play it. It sounds so effortless and so easy. I'm sure that I know I will have to spend some time to find the right balance with everything. We have another question from Darius Gray that says, apart from fingering, are there ideas for how to go about practicing and developing the multiphonics so they feel more stable? So do you have any exercises to develop this technique?
The first exercise could be, even for young people, you ask them to do the G. That's a very easy note, open G. And ask them to remember when they blow the first time, So you get a quack. You can consider the quack. But then the joke can be how to find it, to have it together. First the quack, making him sound. And then let's try to put it together. No fingers. Then we can explain that the quack is too sharp. So let's try to use the fingers, to correct. and let's try to change it. That's one way. The other way, for those who play already, I always say the most easy is to do the octave with the E. I just use the finger of a E, high E, without the 12th key, and just blow it together. And this is very easy. The problem is that people start to using the embouchure, that's finished. I always give an example, you know, the first kiss we give to a newborn child. You know, it's like a, yes, we almost don't squeeze. And that's the way, you know, just let the air come out, or poetically, let your soul speak for yourself, you know. And just forget the embouchure, forget the tongue, forget the reed, you know, just let it go. Yeah.
That's very poetic. What inspired you to create this technique, or how did you begin thinking about this? Was that recently?
Yeah, some years ago. After the 21st century, at the beginning, you know, some years ago, I started to think about it. First was like a joke, like an exercise for myself. And then I found myself, you know, adapting it to many things, to studies, for instance. There are many studies that we can use it. Like I wanted to give the example, this homage to Bach. You know, this, I don't know it by memory, just the end. For there are many possibilities, or with a D. If we think about, I'm sure that many people that are hearing me now will pick some pieces that they did before, or the next time, they will think, yes, why not? And we can start to adapt it to with etudes, you know, studies.
That's very true.
Just the imagination, excuse me. When I do some jazz, or when I play with guitars, fado or samba and so on, it's even more fun because you can look for dissonant combinations.
I know, so I'm already thinking of other ideas for pieces maybe this could be used.
Yes, many possibilities.
That's really exciting. Maybe shifting gears a little bit here, you had mentioned that you're working on a new CD. Do you want to talk about what you are recording for the CD?
Yes, it's a modern concerto written by a pianist and composer, Portuguese. A very difficult one, but it sounds with strings. All the CDs with strings. This concerto, we can say it's like it's not classical music, modern music, but erudite. And then I asked 4 pieces, the arrangement of 4 pieces that I loved from Portuguese traditional songs, popular traditional songs that everybody knows, but written and worked in a different way. For instance, there was a song that won the European Song Competition that in this structure is a blues. And the guy did a fantastic, terrific arrangement. Then I did also from traditional music. Then I used the Song of the Sea also. And the Song of the Sea, you can hear it. There is a movie by Richard Gere. When he heard this song, he picked up for his movie. You hear it every time. So these kind of things. And the third part is just clarinet and guitars. It's not fado anymore. Is so-called the music of the world. I will do tango, waltz, samba, choro. I do a choro. It's called the ternura. It's fantastic, by a great clarinet player, Abel Ferreira. He died some 30 years ago. I love this way to play, and it's like an homage to him. I do Mi Buenos Aires Querido because I loved it when I was in Buenos Aires. It's a kind of pieces for my pleasure.
That's amazing.
So
Do you know when it will be released? It sounds like you're doing a little bit of everything. Do you know when the CD will be released for people to listen to and buy?
I hope next year, because with the COVID, it should be finished already, but it's difficult. And also difficult to get funds, money for it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem, I'm not doing everything. It's the time, I'm doing things that I wanted to do, like when I did the Fado record. After I was 50, I looked back and I thought about something I wanted to do every time in my life, and I didn't. So I did the Fado. That's the second. Now I do this 27th, I do 3 concerti, jazz with clarinet and big band, because I organized a competition for clarinet and big band in my hometown, also to provide more pieces, just not only the artichoke. So I do in one concert, I do artichoke, Fraioli, and Cesar, the guy who won the competition, and I do the records live. Because, in the same time, I'm playing Brahms, I'm playing Mozart, don't worry. But also for the records, the companies, when we ask money, they say, we don't want to be financing the 30th version of Mozart concerto, Mozart quintet, or Brahms sonatas. It's very hard to get money for those things, yes.
Mm-hmm. I see we have another question about the technique that you demonstrated. Do you think any adaptation could be made to the actual design of the clarinet to facilitate these tonal multiphonics?
No.
Do you think it would make it easier, or do you think it's not necessary?
No, it's a kind of artistry of the person and of the way of blowing, yeah? We don't need the only adaptation I think the clarinet needs. It's in the French system that we use the clé de cadence, the keys on the side should be more like German. That will be a big improvement.
Anyone listening that does clarinet manufacturers, please take note.
Now, I don't want. Sometimes I'm not politically correct.
No, I understand.
But that's the fault of French. I speak about it 30 years ago. And they don't want to change because that doesn't come from them. It's not French, so they don't change. Even Michel Arignon wanted to do it, but they just refused. And that's a pity. The end of the second section of Mozart concerto, the trills, they do everything on the side in German system. Not only is comfortable, but also the holes are constructed to sound, not just like clé de cadence. That's a pity. But otherwise, for this technique, no.
Okay.
It's just a technique of blowing and the air conception, just this, and sound concept.
So we have another question. Cesar Cardoso won this clarinet and big band competition. Is that correct?
I beg your pardon?
I might be mispronouncing the name, but who is the winner of the clarinet and big band competition?
Well, what's his name?
Was it Cesar Cardoso? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Cesar
he was
Cardoso.
the winner. And then another question, you mentioned this technique has benefit for tone quality. Can you speak about how this technique can improve the tone?
Yeah, because sometimes it's difficult for a teacher playing all these harmonics that belong to one sound. Yes, I give the example for instance, the B. We can blow it in several ways, or the low G, the low E. And sometimes people like to have a big sound, dark sound, and you hear sometimes, yeah, and not everybody understands or hears when you blow correctly the low E, you hear the 12s. And so on. So if we provoke people or invite people to do, for instance, to do the 12s without the key, and when people try to do it, it's hard and it sounds low. But this effort, sometimes it corrects the quality of the first sound. And so on.
Thank you. I'm excited to try this technique. I just have one final question, unless I see any other questions pop up. What general advice would you have for clarinetists that are watching this for the future to become a better clarinetist? Just any advice that you want to share?
It's to be open-minded, to think about new ways, new possibilities, because the idea we create nowadays of specialization makes sometimes that we are not aware of things that should belong to our work and to our concerns. That's the biggest advice, to see what is happening. Because of COVID, for instance, we have to be open also to think about what can we do, what can we propose as musicians. For my colleagues, teachers, I'm working on that in Portugal, is to propose a more wide kind of education, a little bit as far as I know you have in the States, that people till 25 years old could have a second, could choose a second thing, a second matter of study, not be stuck to the clarinet. Because I think lots of people, they are suffering about that. We don't know which orchestras we are going to have. We don't know which conditions we are going to have. And we have a great example from restaurants, hotels, people they are specialized on an activity that now is almost dead. So I'm telling my students, because actually 90% of my best students, they could do something else. They could be engineers, chemists, physicians. So we should think again about what we want to propose and which kind of musicians we want to have in the future. That's our responsibility as pedagogues.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I just really wanted to thank you for taking the time to show this new technique, and I'm very excited to hear the CD, but also to read the book that you're working on and to get my clarinet out and start practicing this technique and going through my music to see where it could be applied. Thank you so much, Antonio.